All right, guys, welcome to Packers News Combine Chat. We are live here in Indianapolis for the 2020 NFL Combine alongside Jim Ozarski. I am Olivia Reiner. We've got lots to talk to you guys about today. We heard from the offensive linemen, the running backs, and just right beside us right now, some of the prospects will be doing their bench press. Jim, will you be doing your bench press for us today too?
No, I don't. I will only do that for money, and these guys haven't really figured out how to get the league to pay them to do this yet. So, no, they can't afford me here.
Maybe you guys, why don't you get
a
GoFundMe going?
Kickstarter, GoFundMe. I will bench press for money.
Go get a GoFundMe going for Jim Ozarski. We'll see if we can get him to do the bench press. That would be pretty good. Guys, head on over to our Facebook. We'll be taking a look momentarily at some of your questions. Whatever you have, whether it's about the offensive linemen we heard from today, the running backs prospects, I want to hear your questions because we have answers, as always. But first, why don't we start by talking about the offensive linemen, more specifically the free agents of the Green Bay Packers. Most notably, right tackle Bryan Bulaga is set to become a free agent this upcoming March. He was a starter all 16 games this season. However, he turns 31 this March. He's going to be older for a right tackle in the NFL. How will the Packers go about evaluating whether or not to bring Bryan Bulaga back?
Yeah, it's that evaluation, market-wise, has started this week here in Indianapolis. Informally, the legal tampering doesn't happen for another couple of weeks, but this is where the market is structured a little bit, And look, he is going to be 31. Yes, there are injury concerns. However, he's still very good when he plays, Olivia, and there just aren't that many very good right tackles. So the thought that he could get his sort of last big contract is a real one. So really the question for Brian Gutekunst and his staff is how much, how long is that contract? And then, in conjunction here with the Combine is there a replacement available? Is there someone to draft a little later that you can groom, which they haven't had much luck with the last few years. So, what that market will be is hard to say just right now.
Well, potentially part of that market might be Jared Veldheer, the backup right tackle for the Green Bay Packers. Based off of Veldheer's performance this past season, he did come in for Bryan Bulaga and played 100% of the snaps in the playoff game against the Seattle Seahawks. He is valuable in that way. He can come in for Bulaga when he needs a break or if he's sick, ill, whatever. How will the Packers go about considering whether or not to bring Veldheer back for this upcoming season?
Yeah, that's a good question. So going into, this time last year, he signed a one-year deal. I think it was up to $3.5 million with incentives in New England. Was he going to start there? Maybe. And obviously the physical stuff, he decides to retire. The assumption is he would still like to play. I think that was the sense we got from him. So again, there is do the Packers feel, he can sign another one-year deal, kind of be that depth guy? I don't think he's a start. Olivia, I guess here's the thing: do they feel, can he hold down the fort for a year while they draft someone to kind of be ready in 21? That's all part of the equation here because again, that market is just so thin.
So you talk about the market. Why don't we talk about some of the prospects that we saw here today at the Combine? As far as offensive linemen go, we heard from over 50 of them. Certainly some of them are right tackles. How should Brian Gutekunst and his staff evaluate the offensive linemen if they are planning on maybe they'll consider looking at a right tackle in the draft?
Right. It's, to me, I think, and history shows us, if you're going to get a starting tackle, especially one that you think can play right away as a rookie, it's going to have to be in the first round. And I know Packers right now, you're like, wait a minute, David Bakhtiari, he's a unicorn. That doesn't happen. You don't find starting tackles that turn into all pros in the fourth rounds of draft. You can't count on that. So I think if the decision, as they evaluate the market, Olivia, and see, okay, we can't afford or don't want to afford Bryan Bulaga, that means we need a right tackle. You probably got to go high. Look, the last time they tried was trading up for Jason Spriggs. They trade up to the second round. That's a place like the sit and develop thing. Well, that didn't work. But that's kind of the range. And then I think that sets the board for the rest of the draft is what they do at tackle.
So speaking of the draft, the Packers also got to hear from some of the running backs. They'll get to see them later on this week as they go to work out. Let's talk about the running backs that are already on the roster and the duo that has been the present for the Packers, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. But, of course, will they be the future for the Packers? That is the question. They are set to become free agents in 2021. When you consider Aaron Jones's production, he had a career-high touchdowns this year. Jamal Williams was not, he posted 6 touchdowns. He was consistent. He was there when the Packers needed him. How does the team go about evaluating the two of them before they hit the market potentially in 2021?
Yeah, it's I think it's sort of bad luck in a way for Aaron Jones in that Kenny Clark is up for an extension, and that's going to be a lot of money. David Bakhtiari's coming up in the last year of his deal, and that, of course, affects things 4 years down the line. How much are you? I mean, those guys have to get paid a lot of money. So what the math is, Olivia, is especially when you work in the quarterback, Devontae Adams, like some players on the team have to make minimum contracts or the rookie deals. Now, both of those guys earn performance raises, so both will make $2 million this year. Aaron Jones probably has a right to ask for a decent extension, but again, it's a position that you can just kind of churn through, and so I think it'll lead to some interesting negotiations to a degree, Olivia. I don't know where extending them now rates on the priority list because it's a position you can look. Those guys were mid-round picks, 3rd to 4th. You can find guys there if you think, you're going to have to move on in a year.
So the priority may not be in extending Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams right now. However, the combine is right now, and the draft is upcoming, and there are running back prospects out there for the Packers to consider. How might they go about looking at this running backs class if they want to replace maybe one of their core running backs in 2021?
Right. We'll have to see where Dexter Williams is from a year ago. Matt LaFleur said, look, a third guy is going to kind of need to get into that rotation at some point. I mean, Jamal Williams had some injuries. Aaron Jones obviously was healthy. I think for the Packers, we mentioned tackle. They're drafting so late in the first round that really you kind of look at what they did with Jones and Williams 4 years ago. If you think you can find a running back or an impact type of guy, that's probably the area. 3rd round, 4th round, a kind of developmental guy who might come later, like a Dexter Williams. Look, right now in Aaron Jones, that draft class is Joe Mixon was 2nd round, Dalvin Cook 2nd round, Alvin Kamara was after that. I mean, you can find those guys, which is good for the teams, not so good for the guys.
So what might not be so good for you, Jim, as we move into our questions portion of this show, we'll start with Chase. He says, I'm back. Thank you for coming back. Chase, who wins in a fight, Jim or Mark Murphy?
That's not
That's a good question.
Is it, though?
I think it's pretty good. What about,
is it, though?
I'll phrase it a little bit differently, who wins in a bench press competition? Because all of you out there are going to start that Kickstarter to get Jim to do some bench press reps.
You know what? Mark's still in good shape, but he played a long time. I don't know if Mark's interested in lifting weights anymore like that. So I think if I were to do the training that you went through to get ready for the combine, then so go see that video over at PackersNews.com. And, I feel like I'd hold my own against Mark in that way, but that's only because I think those days are behind him as a former NFL player.
Okay, fair. Thank you, Jim, for your feedback there. We'll move on here to Jerron. He says Dexter Williams needs to go. He is referring to Dexter Williams, the 6th round pick running back last year out of Notre Dame. For Dexter Williams, what does he need to show in his 2nd year that the Packers staff didn't get to see this past season because he simply wasn't active on game day?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. And what Ben Simmons had said late in the year, kind of when Jamal Williams was hurt, when Danny Vitale got hurt, he basically said we need to see it in games. His best opportunity is going to come in the preseason. because, the top guys aren't going to play. What he needs to show is he can catch the ball, that he can be split outside, run routes the right way, have the quarterback trust to throw it to him, be where he's supposed to be in those ways. Of course, pass block. He looked like a rookie in those ways last year. Now, you give him the ball, one cut and go, he can do that. So I don't think that's the question. It's that other stuff that this offense requires of a running back that we didn't even see that in the preseason. So that's the next step. And obviously, if they decide to draft a running back or two, or if they bring Tyler Ervin back, that's a big hurdle for Dexter Williams.
Like Dexter Williams, future a little bit uncertain. Aaron Jones, as we mentioned earlier in the show, future is also a little uncertain, set to become a free agent in 2021. So we've got our dear friend in here, Josh, saying that they would be crazy. The Packers would be crazy to let Aaron Jones go. What price to keep Aaron Jones around would be considered crazy?
Oh, well, I mean, a crazy price would be, the Devonta Freeman money or the Jerick McKinnon money in San Francisco, which isn't really that huge. Those are $6 to $8 million annually. Look, guys, Aaron Jones, the whole free Aaron Jones movement, it worked to the Packers' advantage. It worked to his advantage. He's a very good player. But again, when you go down the line of paying certain players, at some point in your offense and your defense, other guys need to make minimum dollars. So if he deserves it, if the market bears it out, that Aaron Jones should get a $8 million a year contract. I just don't know where that fits in if you have to pay to get other positions solidified.
All right.
We'll see.
Only time will tell exactly what the market for Aaron Jones will look like as we get closer to 2021. But we are here in 2020, and we are here in Indianapolis for the Combine. Day 3 will be tomorrow. We will be there, obviously. Of course, guys, we will be here to chat with you guys and take all of your questions once again tomorrow. So make sure you come back. We're going to hear from the linebackers, and we're going to hear from the defensive linemen. So lots to talk about tomorrow.